Hey guys, welcome back. So today, Hayden-Grace and I are going to talk about an album that recently came out by Delwater Gap called I Miss You and I Haven't Left Yet. So Hayden-Grace, what do you want to say first?
So first I want to preface anybody who hasn't listened to Delwater Gap. He is so, he's one of those romantic artists who talks about love in a really idealized, poppy, beautifully put way. And I appreciate Del.
Holden is his name.
Yes.
Holden.
Samuel
Holden Jaff.
Yeah, is his real name.
Yeah.
He's awesome, love him, but to parallel that, was not my favorite album of his. But I think it's really good for people who like poppy, Taylor Swift style music, so.
Yeah, I said that following up his self-titled debut album was definitely a really hard task to do, and I think he did do it, but I think the two albums just sound so different.
They're very different.
Obviously, the themes of this new album are a lot more serious and very heavy topics.
I think they're more grown up in relation to his album before this one, which is the one that a lot of people know, Perfume, Ode to a Conversation. I know that's your favorite, kid.
That's my all-time favorite Delwater Gap song. So
and it's good.
Yeah.
But this is just a different vibe. It's a little darker. It's a little more grown up, New York City, chaotic.
And you can tell that that was his idea of going into the album. I read an article that he did with GQ literally 20 minutes ago where he was talking about how he felt before he was kind of holding himself back from discussing those topics with the audience, and so his plan for this album was to actually kind of break away from that and actually put himself out there. So some of the harder topics are seen in songs like Beach House, Quilt of Steam, Want It All, Never Be Like Anybody Else. I feel those were probably the most intense songs that stood out to me.
Their vibes are definitely I don't know. I think a lot of people can relate to it, but it's also this heavier mental health touching, drug use touching. If you think about any 25-year-old rock star living in New York,
they're probably
as a single man,
stuff like this.
Think about that experience and put it into an album, and that is what you get.
Exactly. And even songs like Beach House, they cover really hard topics. Literally the first lyric is in a K-hole listening to Beach House. Even though that is a really intense topic that I can't personally relate to, that's probably my favorite song on the album just because of how good it sounds.
Yes, and they mentioned Beach House. Who doesn't love Beach House in the first place?
And Nick Cave.
Yes.
Exactly. And I said that this album reminds me of his EP, Don't Get Dark.
Yeah.
That one has To Philly, Theory of Emotion. Theory of Emotion is also one of my favorite songs by him. I think I've talked about it on here before. It just is such an intense personal song, and I feel he kind of went back to his roots on this album. Self-titled was really dream pop, but this album, some influences that I kind of got from it was Radiohead and Depeche Mode.
Yes.
Just very dark and grungy and
I hear very techno synth pop of the 80s. He has a couple songs that vary from the guitars, the distortion, the kind of things Depeche Mode or even Duran Duran, dare I say.
Yes.
To compare it to somebody more modern, I would say
Duran Duran is really good.
And that's just so fitting because
we're going to talk about them later.
Out.
Exactly.
Yeah. Keep that.
So I said that my favorite songs were Losing You, Gemini, Beach House, Glitter and Honey, NFU, Dollhouse, but I know that's pretty much all of them, but genuinely I think this album is so great. There are definitely songs I like more than the others, but I was listening to the entire album before we filmed today, and it's a good fall album.
It's definitely hard to choose the best ones because it's a really good time for right now. I think he dropped it at a really perfect season because it's you hear it, you get into the fall vibes. It's so grungy. If you want to be a little emo,
angsty.
It's so angsty. That's a good word for it.
Yeah.
So I just really enjoy listening to this album. I'm glad you did too.
Yes, and I'm actually seeing him on tour November 4th in Kansas City, and I am so unbelievably excited to see Ode to a Conversation live because I know he ends the concert with that song, and I just know it's going to absolutely ruin me. So look forward to some footage of that later. And with that being said, we're going to throw it on over to something else. So bye!
Bye, guys!